And for our objectives, at the end of the lesson, 100% of the students with 85% level of proficiency will be able to A. Know the different types of literary devices, B. Identify the literary devices used in the passage, and C. Compose a poem using literary devices. Now, what have you noticed on our activity that we did earlier? Ma'am, I noticed that we use different literary devices on our skit. Very good observation, Ira. Ira is correct. We use different literary devices on our activity. So, we are going to define first what is literary devices. Literary devices are techniques that writers use to express their ideas and enhance their writing. Literary devices highlight important concepts in a text, strengthen the narrative, and help readers connect to the characters and themes. Aside from the definition, we have different types of literary devices, but we are going to discuss the 7 types of it. The first type of literary devices is simile. Jonah, can you please read the definition of simile? A simile is a phrase that uses a comparison to describe. Similes are like metaphors, but metaphors aren't the same as similes. Similes are great for famous authors, public speakers, and folks who want to make their writing as exciting as a spontaneous show of fireworks. For example, life is like a box of chocolates. You never know which one you are going to get. Thank you, Jonah. Can you give your own example, Earl? Very good, Earl. Let's move on to the other type, which is metaphor. Glyza, please read the definition of metaphor. A metaphor is a figure of speech that describes an object or action in a way that isn't literally true, but helps explain an idea or make a comparison. It equates those two things not because they actually are the same, but for the sake of comparison or symbolism. Metaphors are used in poetry, literature, and anytime someone wants to add some color to their language. For example, love is a battlefield. Now, Joshua, give an example of metaphor. Thank you, Joshua. Our next type of literary devices is personification. Agnes, please read the definition of personification. Personification is a figure of speech in which an idea or thing is given human attributes and or feelings or is spoken of as if it were human. Personification is a common form of metaphor in that human characteristics are attributed to non-human things. This allows writers to create life and motion within inanimate objects, animals, and even abstract ideas by assigning them recognizable human behaviors and emotions. For example, my alarm yelled at me this morning. Thank you, Agnes. Now, Raymart, give me your own example of personification. Nice answer, Raymart. The fourth type of literary devices is alliteration. Krisha, read the definition of alliteration. Alliteration is a literary device that reflects repetition in two or more nearby words of initial consonant sounds. Alliteration does not refer to the repetition of consonant letters that begin words, but rather the repetition of the consonant sound at the beginning of words. For example, Bob the Builder, Wicked Witch of the West. Thank you, Krisha. Can you give an example of alliteration, Isaac? Great answer, Isaac. Next type is onomatopoeia. Marga, read the definition of onomatopoeia. Onomatopoeia is defined as a word which imitates the natural sounds of a thing. It creates a sound effect that mimics the thing described, making the description more expressive and interesting. For example, the sock fell into the river with a splash. The books fell on the table with a loud thump. Thank you, Marga. Callie, give your own example of onomatopoeia. The buzzing bee flew away. Nice answer, Callie. For our sixth type of literary devices, we have idiom. Brian, please read the definition of idiom. Thank you, Brian. Oliver, give an example of idiom. What does it mean? Very good, Oliver. The last type is sensory words. Angel, please read the definition of sensory words. Sensory word is used to invoke mental images and visualize the story or poem. Literally, sensory language is a phrase of two words, sensory and language. It means using language to create mental pictures that appeal to the sense of sight, hearing, smell, taste, and touch. For example, our cabinets remain squeak and creak free. That's guaranteed for 10 years. The word squeak and creak is an example of auditory words. Thank you, Angel. Can you give an example of sensory word or language, Mark? Great answer, Mark. Class, is there any questions or clarifications regarding to our lesson today? None, Mom. If that's the case, let's move on to our activity for today.